Joining me now on the Believe in Jets podcast, my guy covers the Jets for the New York Daily News, insider beat reporter Antwan Staley. Breaking news just now came out, so maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But people who listened to the episode so far just heard me rant for about 15 minutes about Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh. So take us through what happened. We'll start there. The press conference, as everyone knows, what did you see from your perspective on kind of the contradiction between Saleh and Rodgers?
So on Sunday. So basically, Saleh just basically said that maybe the cadence would be an issue, and then of course Rodgers kind of said something opposite of that too, and then obviously on Monday Saleh kind of clarified or just kind of went back on his word. It's just said, well,
he tried to walk it back.
Exactly. So it was kind of like, I'm sure a conversation happened probably after that. And they probably talked about it, or, at least in the media eyes, at least kind of cleaned it up there too. But yeah, it's just, miscommunication there. You would think they would kind of be on, similar type page there, but obviously that's not the case. And, it's just, you look at Sunday as just a whole, like that was just another blunder on, the Jets front. Like no matter who you blame there, it's just not a good look at all from any angle, especially after a game like that.
The problem is anyone ever on Robert Saleh's page? Because he gets up there and he just starts spitballing. And the cleanup spot, which was clearly, the media team walking him through it and the PR team saying, okay, you're going to point to the thing, the part of the comment that you made and say that was the main focus and not this part. So he's clearly being coached to say that, and still it comes off clunky. And by the way, Diana Rossini, I'm mad at you because she told me before the season started when I had WFAN, she said to me, this is going to be a different Robert Saleh. We're not going to see the Robert Saleh who puts his foot in his mouth. This is the same freaking guy. And guess what? Rodgers' disdain for him is clearly growing, because you could see, you were in the room, I wasn't, but the way he looks, he goes, that's one way to do it. Long pause, eye roll, or we can hold them accountable. Robert, he might as well have said that, right? So
yeah, I think what I was going to say is, I think, when you have a guy like Aaron, when you're trying to get somebody to change the culture of an organization, he's seeing like the bright spot. He knows exactly what, it's supposed to look like, not just on the field level or whatever, but just, behind the scenes, just even, behind this press conferences, just talking with media, stuff like that. And, I think that's part of the trying to change the culture too. And then, yeah, you could talk about, not you, but, I know you said Diana Rossini said it'd be a different Robert Saleh, but he's still new. Like, he's still a young guy. Like, this is uncharted territory for him. Like, trying to, dealing with the media. Obviously he's dealt with the media attention the last 3 years, but, he is who he is. He's not going to change no matter what the situation is. And I think clearly on Sunday, you kind of saw that too. He is the guy that it's going to be clunky press conferences at times. It's going to be, things that are said, injury report. People talk about that a lot, joke about it, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's been a lot. And I think you kind of saw that come, to a forefront again on Sunday.
At what point does it become too much? Because it's one thing for it to be just press conferences and him being clunky in the press conferences. It's another thing for the stats to bear out that he's just not a particularly good head coach. And when you look at a immovable object versus a unstoppable force or whatever, right? You have Rodgers and his greatness versus Saleh and his ineptitude. And Aaron Rodgers previously on 10 days rest was 9-0 coming into this game. Robert Saleh, coming off of buys or 9 days rest, or 10 days rest rather, was 2-7. The Jets being outscored 195-92, and his teams have committed 61 penalties in those situations.
Yeah, it is the same. So I wrote about this after the game. It's the same thing that's been going on the last few years. They're undisciplined.
It's the exact same.
Exactly. It has not changed. Well, I've covered the team since 22, but since I've been covering the team, it's been the same thing. Especially you have a few games like this throughout the year. Like I remember 22, it was Detroit. It was the kind of the game where, they gave up a late touchdown and then they had an opportunity to try to, win it late. And, clock management kind of, was the big reason why they lost that game. And in addition to that late touchdown, and then it's been other examples too throughout his tenure where it's been kind of the same thing, whether it be, team is undisciplined or, clock management or, you have a chance to win it, like you're down, you just need a yard. They needed literally just a yard to get it in the end zone, and you can't get that. And then now you're running trying to run a fade with Solomon Thomas. It makes no sense to. So I mean, you could go on and on about it, but the fact of the matter is, like, they continue to, under Robert Saleh, the Jets continue to have these moments where they just, just not the bright, not ready for the bright lights. And like I say, you can blame him. You could, like, whoever you want to blame, the players. But the fact of the matter is, these things continue to happen on this tenure. And then if they don't start winning, then I think people will start to, especially after Sunday, start to hold them accountable. So we're going to learn a lot about them this month in October. Because, again, that tough schedule obviously ends with the Texans. And then they'll have another 10-day break before they face the Cardinals in November, too. So it's a critical time for him and the Jets organization.
It's a critical time. And you mentioned the like short yardage situations. Well, since you've been here, since 2022, the Jets have 104 such situations of third or fourth down and 1 situations, right? 57 times they failed to convert, took a penalty, punted, or settled for a field goal.
Ouch,
I mean, to get a yard 60% of the time, essentially, you're failing. It's just, again, it's ineptitude, and it's the same thing over and over again. And guess what? Robert Saleh, you can't go run to Joe Beningo and yell that it's the quarterback's fault, because we all know it's not. We know the quarterbacks and he wasn't great on Sunday.
No, he was not.
No blame. He was not great on Sunday, and he took accountability for that. Saleh didn't. Saleh said, we need to fix this. It's unacceptable. It's been unacceptable the entire time you've been here. Apparently, it's very acceptable.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. Like, he said this like years ago, penalties unacceptable. They led the league in penalties last year. And you think, oh, yeah, the self-inflicted wounds, we got to clean them up. When are you going to clean them up? Like, it's been years. Like, it's time to, if your second year on the job, okay, things are going to happen. Yeah, you're trying to change, the culture of the organization. This is year 4 for him. And you're still making the same mistakes that you made in year 1 and year 2. At some point, then you have to look in the mirror and say, how can we change this? Like, what can I do to help, change this? And maybe it is holding people accountable. Maybe it is just, maybe you have to go to high school and college route and, if you make these penalties, run laps or whatever. Like, I'm just spitballing, but something has to change in order to, correct these same mistakes where they keep sitting themselves in the foot. Otherwise, then it's going to continue to happen. And then I don't think the Jets are good enough, roster-wise, to overcome mistakes like that, as you saw on Sunday. Even though it was an ugly game, it was raining there. But the fact of the matter is, some teams can overcome, being undisciplined. I don't think the Jets are one of those teams.
It's, you could overcome being undisciplined to a degree. I think when you're this undisciplined and you're this bad, that's hard for anyone to overcome. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. You could play, because I think we saw the two sides of the coin in New York football this week. We saw the clean game from the Giants. They do everything right, but yet they're still not good enough to win the game. And we see the terrible game from the Jets and do everything wrong and not good enough to overcome all of that. And I'm very curious to see, because you mentioned maybe Saleh needs to change. This is who Saleh is. It's year 4. We know who he is. He's not changing. The question is, at what point does Rodgers become fed up? And I'm curious. I have, McAfee on in front of me right now. By the way, I don't know who the show is for. Like, why do we have 17 people on the show? And like the one guy with the slick back hair who's not there doesn't talk. Like, he just sits there and laughs, but they put him in the split screen anyway. Like, you might as well like put him in like tiny in the corner. You have 17 other guys sitting around McAfee who will throw in like these random lines, just go, yeah. Like, I don't, who's that for? I'm not sure.
I
watch it on Tuesdays.
I cannot answer
for Aaron Rodgers.
That I cannot answer. Yeah,
not the point.
They got a lot going on in that show as it is, for sure.
My God. But I'm curious to see what Rodgers says today, because look, at some point, and there he is. He just popped up. So I think we need to we might need to change our Tuesday 1:00 time because there's definitely we're definitely gonna have to hear what he has to say. But I mean, my God, with it, like at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to his decision, right? And if he decides that he's fed up with Saleh, and if it goes bad in London, how do you come home with this guy?
I don't think they're going to fire Saleh during the season. I'll say that. And then even if you do, what does that do? What does that accomplish? Like, how good is this team still going to be? Like, I mean, you're going to make Hackett the interim head coach.
You know what? Make him the head coach. At least you could hire an offensive coordinator, maybe with a little bit of creativity.
Yeah, you got confidence that's going to happen? I do not. So, yeah, I think this team is what it is.
Well, okay. It's addition by subtraction. Saleh's holding them back.
Is he the only one holding them back, though? I
didn't say he's the only one, but he is holding them back.
I don't think the team is not.
It's not okay. It's not about can they overcome him to win. It's not just can they win with him. It's can they have to overcome him to win.
See, I don't think he's the only issue. Like, well, I'm not saying you say he thinks he's the only, but I think they have bigger issues than just Robert Saleh, although he is one of them. He is one. I don't think the team is as good as what people thought. Like, I think I told you this too. Like, a lot of people thought there was a Super Bowl contenders. Like, I'm not there. Like, and I'm still not there. Like, I think, could they make the playoffs? Sure. Look, I'm not, people in my mentions talking about firing Robert Saleh or like this team is, like whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm not there. The fans have some of the fans have jumped ship. I just don't think I think they are maybe 10-win team. And, they are what they are. But yes, they're not playing up to expectations. They easily could be 1-3 right now if it wasn't for Will Levis, boneheaded play. We could be having a whole different kind of conversation right now about the Jets too. They easily could be 3-1 too. If it was some, they should be 3-1 to be quite honest with you. But the fact of the matter is they have an opportunity in London. I think they are going to play better against the Vikings there. I don't know if they're going to win because now you're facing a team that you faced the number 1 team in blitz pressure last week. Now you're facing the number 2 team in blitz pressure this week, and Bond Forrest is going to do everything in his power to kind of confuse Rodgers in the offensive line and come after him. And it could be another, result, disastrous result for the Jets, especially the way the offensive line played last week.
The other part of it, and you mentioned the talent on the team, is guys like Breece Hall, guys like Garrett Wilson, and maybe we'll talk about Garrett Wilson and his connection with Rodgers right now. So far, by the way, with the sound on mute, I've seen them do the finger guns at Rodgers, and now they're showing the picture of him with the towel over his head on the sideline. So very serious interview, clearly, that they're running over there at the Pat McAfee show. My God. So anyway, with Breece and Garrett Wilson, is it time that maybe we start talking about them in a different light? Like maybe they're not as great as they keep thinking and saying they are.
Well, yeah, I don't think Garrett is saying he's great. I think people are thinking he is great. They think he is better than what he is. Like I thought coming in, like he's a top 20 receiver, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think people thought he could elevate to a top 10 level. Clearly, that's not the case right now. Like, clearly, it's some chemistry pause, not just with him and Aaron and Garrett, but also other receivers, too. It was another pass in that game. Like, right after the Garrett, when he didn't look for the pass, Xavier Gipson.
That was to Gibson. Gibson shouldn't be on the field ever.
Yeah, that's the kind of the same thing, too. It's like, okay, what's going on here? And then, obviously.
And also, me and Bilal have talked about this for a year and a half now. Why Xavier Gibson? Why is he on the field? He doesn't do anything in the punt return. He looks so confused back there every time. Like I'm panicking when he's back there receiving a punt or a kick. Like he's 10 yards deep in the end zone. He decides to return it. And then other times he'll decide to take a knee when he does have room. He fair catches when people are 20 yards away from him, but he decides to return it when a guy's right in front. Like it is mind numbing. And half the time he juggles it. Like Xavier Gibson. And what is the coaching staff seeing that we're not seeing? Like, I'm sorry. What are they seeing? Because Xavier Gibson is clearly not it.
Yeah, he's loyal. They're loyal to him in the punt return.
Because he had one return against Buffalo?
That's what that would be my guess. That would be my guess. Yes, but
I'm gonna
also
text Brant Boyer because I mean, like Brant,
who else
what's
you
going
gonna
on?
put back there though? You gonna put Corley back there?
Yes,
He has hardly any experience as a punt returner. You're putting him back
I don't
there.
know, put Braylon Allen back there, put DJ Reed back there. There's anyone.
Allen probably. I don't know if you put him back there. Maybe you could try Isaiah Davis. That might be an option.
Great, do
That
it.
might be an option.
Anything but Xavier Gibson. And why is he on the field on a third down and Mike Williams is not? I know the snap count, but like, can you like? It's crazy.
Yeah, at some point, yeah, you have to kind of take the shackles off, and then
In that point, at that point in a game.
yeah, exactly.
You mentioned the
So
blitzing. Like theoretically, blitzing Aaron Rodgers should be a problem, right? Like you don't want to blitz Aaron Rodgers,
yeah, for the other team, yeah, but
right? That's what I'm saying. Like,
not anymore. I mean, I think also part. I mean, he can't move the way that he used to. Like that's also. I mean, that's evident as well. But it all again, like it's not
but
totally.
still, it's his quick release. It's him finding where recognizing the pressure and finding where he wants to go with the ball before the snap. That's one of the things he's so great at. It's why you don't blitz Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was a statue back there. You know what I mean? But he found where he wanted to go with the ball.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, until he started to get a little bit older too. Then he felt like you could be able to blitz some Peyton Manning. Although I think Aaron at this stage is better than what Peyton was late in his career, at least right now, like his last year.
Yep, for sure.
Especially. So yeah, I feel like Aaron is still a very good quarterback, but they're gonna have to do things to help him. Like that, you can't. He's not gonna be able to carry the team on his back like he could in Green Bay. Like you got to be able to make these catches. You got to be able to pay it. You got to pay attention when the ball is thrown to you. You got to be able to block, pass protect, run. The run blocking has been terrible for the Jets too all year. That's been a problem all year long, and that has to get corrected too. No matter Braylon Allen and Breece Hall in there, it just happened to be Braylon Allen is able to overcome some of the blocking deficiencies there, and has played really well there. And also, don't overcomplicate things. If Braylon Allen's having a really good game, ride the hot hand. Like you're not necessarily benching Breece, but at the same time, like just ride the hot hand until the defense shows you can stop it. Yeah, again, like some of those things that they decide to do on Sunday just really confused me.
The same question I asked you. What are they seeing that we're not? Because clearly we're not seeing the same thing as this coaching staff. The other thing is against the quarterback who is one of the worst against pressure in the league, you didn't blitz. We talked about this last week. Like starting the second half, all of a sudden they started blitzing. They blitzed against the Patriots, and then they went away from it. Like, what? Shouldn't you have been dialing it up even more against Bo Nix?
Yeah, I know the Broncos have a better offensive line than the Patriots, but still, if you're not getting any pressure, what's the next thing to do? Of course, blitz. At least try it. If he gets
and who can beat you?
Yeah, if he beats you, then okay, fine. Then you make an adjustment. But the fact that they didn't even try or got 0 sacks through the course of the game, that's telling, man. So again, they made the part of the thing with Saleh too. And I know we talked about this as far as they lack of in-game adjustments. That's part of my thing too with the coaching staff. That was my biggest thing. Like 22, it was the biggest thing last year. It's another. It's also
year 4
thing this year too. It's just the lack of adjustments because clearly, like you see, the Broncos could not throw the ball down the field, or Sean Payton did not have confidence that Bo Nix would complete a pass like 5 yards up to a certain point. Why not just put some heat on him, force him to turn the ball over as he's shown to do in his first 2 or 3 games? But it is mind blowing some of this decision making that happened, especially in that particular game. But yeah, just throughout the whole tenure.
Yeah, 4 years of this. It's not getting better. I promise you it's not getting better. So if they want to ride it out with Robert Saleh for the rest of the year, go for it. They're not winning with this guy. I'll tell you that right now. So you want to wait another year for Aaron Rodgers to be older and then bring in a new guy, or do you want to make something happen now? So anything but Saleh is better. I'll tell you that right now. Something else that can change. Vinny Bonsinger, I probably screwed up that name. Bonsignor, I don't know.
Yeah.
Beat reporter for
I know you're talking about, yeah.
The Vegas Raiders. More to come. A league source with knowledge of the situation confirmed that the Raiders are growing open to the idea of trading Davante Adams. The source said the club has begun reaching out to teams to gauge interest in the veteran wide receiver. You don't need to gauge the Jets' interest. They're interested. Is that something that's going to happen?
I think it depends on where they are in October. But yeah, you know they're interested. I mean, they were interested last year. They called the Raiders, and then the Raiders declined the offer. And then, of course, they kept Adams. And, here we are a year later, and speculation is he's going to get traded, mainly because Adams is not owed any more guaranteed money after this year. And then I think his contract is like over $30 million the next couple of years, too, with non-guaranteed. So if you're the Raiders' perspective, you understand where you're going. You are 2-2, but, the fact of the matter is they're probably a 6 or 7 win team at best. You're not going to keep Adams anyway. I think Adams is also growing frustrated with, the organization, Antonio Pierce, and understanding where they're probably not going to go anywhere anyway, and they're probably going to move on from you no matter what. So I think in his eyes, he's probably open to maybe the Jets, maybe another team too as well. But I can tell you, I know the Jets will be interested, especially now that this has come to light too. So yeah, it definitely could happen. Will it happen? I don't know, because if they're 2-5 at the end of October, then does that make sense from you and from a records perspective and financially? Probably not. But if you're 4-4, 5-4, heading to November, still in the playoff race, then yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too, especially considering Garrett Wilson and Rodgers are still having problems chemistry-wise too. Alan Lazard has been their best wide receiver all year long. And then why not get somebody that has that rapport with Aaron Rodgers, who like Alan Lazard, and then that could also help the offense too and take some pressure off Garrett Wilson and then make him, essentially the number 2 receiver. So yeah, I think it definitely could happen. It's just a matter of what the Jets are coming into October.
Well, might as well just recreate the 2022 Packers, right? Have Nate Hackett be essentially the head coach, and bring Davante Adams in as the number 1 receiver. And hey, maybe Garrett Wilson's more similar to a Jordy Nelson type, and he could play in the slot. Yeah, dude. It sucks. Like, this sucks. This is where we are in the season after 4 games, and especially considering where we were a week ago talking about this team. It's a long season, though. The AFC East went 0-4 this week. Do you think they can turn it around? And I'm not going to only ask you about London. Next 3 games. Tough games. In London. Yeah. Home Monday night at Buffalo. In Pittsburgh for Sunday Night Football.
Short week.
What do you think happens? And by the way, they're not traveling until, we'll get to that in a second. But
yeah, they're not leaving until late on Thursday, yeah.
Prediction for the next 3 weeks.
I think they win one of those games. I just don't know which one they win, because I think they have to.
Yeah.
And they have to win one of those games. I don't think they'll beat the Vikings, but I think they will have a good showing. Buffalo or Pittsburgh, I'm trying to think. You know what? Knowing how the Jets are, they'll probably beat Buffalo and then lose to Pittsburgh in a short week there. So probably 1-2 in that case. But you cannot go 0-3. Like, that would be just a ultimate disaster from that front. The heat is already on now. Like, people are already, you already kind of see people starting to turn on Robert Saleh and some of the people in the organization. You go 0-3 heading to New England at the end of the month. And then you got another game against Houston on Halloween. Yeah, this thing could spiral out of control. But I'm gonna trust that they win one of those 3 games. I'll say Buffalo, but I don't feel necessarily very confident in that either.
So, well, if they lose the Buffalo game, then they're 2-4, and at that point, a short week, they're not. So again, I don't know.
It's Pittsburgh on a short week, Sunday Night Football. Yeah, that's not looking good either.
So they better win. They better go 1-1 in the next 2 at the very worst. But even then, you're talking about them being 3-4 going into a short week against Houston. So
that's why
it's not good right now.
That's why the game against Denver was so important. You're 3-1. The schedule is going to
and that, as a Jet fan, is what I've seen my entire life. The game that you need to win, the game that you absolutely cannot lose, they lose. That's what they've done my entire life, and they did it again. And you could change the players, you could change the uniform, you could change the coach, you could change the quarterback, apparently, and still the same old goddamn Jets. Because, I mean, this is just I mean, it's my whole life. That's what it is, and it's infuriating.
And the schedule again, like this is really started. The schedule started to get really tough in November. Like I mean, you got Cardinals, you got the Colts, and then after you got a bye week and that, and then December starts, and then you got Seattle, and you know Seattle's playing at a high level. We'll see what the Dolphins are. I don't know. Like they look.
Oh, knowing the Jets luck by then too will be back and healthy and slinging it around.
That's the thing now. Like you would want to play the Dolphins right now, but like in December, like who knows where they're going to be. And then on top of that, you got another beating against Buffalo there. You got to play the Rams, and then it's not going to get any easier. You should beat Jacksonville, I think. Or at least I would hope with the way they look right now. So, but you never know with this team. I mean, I thought they would have.
God knows who their head coach is going to be at that point. So we'll see. With
I thought they would have beat Denver. So anything is up for debate at this point.
Quickly on the travel, I talked to Bilal about this many times. He says they made a mistake when he was there and he went to London with the Rex team. He said they flew out, or I think it was the Rex team. He said they flew out late in the week. And he said it was a big mistake. He said it would have been much better off flying out early, have the full week there, do the practice there, adjust to your clock there, do everything there. I don't know why the Jets decided not to do that.
Well, Saleh was asked about that. He said they're doing it very similar to how they did it in 21, excuse me, when they played the Falcons.
Okay.
I don't know if they won that game or not. Like I said, I wasn't covering the Jets at the time. I think they did, I want to say, but nevertheless, Robert Saleh said they're doing something similar, but changing a few things up. So that's why they're leaving later on in the week.
The Jets lost that game.
Okay. Well, there you go.
27, yeah. 27-20, and they were down 20-3 at the half. So came out real strong in London against the Falcons. Great job.
They did the same thing.
Let's do the same thing. Let's travel late. And this is exactly my point on Robert Saleh. I'll do it the same way I've always done it. Or learn from your mistakes. Because clearly that was a mistake. You were down 20-3 in London.
Yeah, I thought they were going to leave early in the week too. I thought they would have left like today, potentially, and then you get acclimated.
He's lost, and the only way to salvage the season is to get rid of him. That's 1,000%. The season's salvageable. I say all of these things to say when you look at the rest of the AFC East, the fact that the league as a whole the first month has been up and down and crazy. It's a salvageable season if you make a move now. If you don't, the season's cooked. So I guess next Tuesday we'll be talking about you. Hopefully the Jets are 3-2 and we're back up on the roller coaster. All right.
Yeah, they're 2-3. Heading into Buffalo. Yeah, we got some.
You think I'm mad now? It's gonna get worse, Antwan. I'm sorry.
They figured that I don't want to call that early in the season must win, but that's as big of a must win as that would be if you're 2-3 at that point. Like you're in dangerous territory right there.
Yeah, you might not answer my text. 2-3.
Nah, look, I get it. I've gotten a lot worse. So trust me, like you're not the only one texting me pissed off about the Jets right now.
Dude, safe flight, safe travel to London. Enjoy the trip as much as you can. I don't know if you're doing any sightseeing while you're out there.
Yeah, it's always a good trip. I've been over there mostly with the Dolphins, but yeah, it's been a good time.
Well, enjoy it, and we'll see you back on Tuesday. All right, buddy?
All right, sounds good, man.
All right, good talking to you. Antwan Staley from the New York Daily News. Check him out. It's just this is the situation with the New York Jets. This is what we've come to expect with the New York Jets, and it's infuriating. Maybe I'll do some Rodgers stuff after this. So I'm going to take a quick break, go check out some of the Rodgers with McAfee stuff, see if there's anything interesting in there, and I'll come back and wrap it up. But before we do that, I got to tell you guys, I'm wearing a hat that is not melon, and my head is sweaty. I don't feel comfortable, but I needed to give it a break. I was too comfortable. I was wearing the melon hat so much. I got so used to it. It was so amazing. And then I just grabbed this morning. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have made this mistake because melon is the only hat anyone should ever want to wear again. It's durable. It's breathable. It smells great still. I wasn't used to it. I was like, wow, it smells amazing. I smell this thing. It smells like sweat. So if you want the best hat in the game, don't be an idiot like me. Go to melin.com. Go get a melon hat. It's breathable. It's structured. It's strong. I just had to give the hat a break from me. Like, it deserved a break from me, not the other way around. So don't be like me. Go to Melon. Get the best hat in the game. You can wear it in all occasions, whether you're running around at a water park or at a concert, country festival, or at a bar, or maybe you're trying to class things up on the golf course or at a nice dinner date. Melon is the best hat for you. melin.com. Tell them we sent you from the Believe in Jets podcast. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with some Aaron Rodgers news and notes from his moronic conversation with Pat McAfee. I'm not in a mood today. We'll be back in a second. All right, I got through most of the Rodgers stuff on McAfee. Didn't see all of it, obviously, but I saw a bunch of the Rodgers stuff on McAfee. McAfee started the conversation with, here's the head coach of the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, which is funny. Call him the head coach. I don't know if that was on purpose or a mistake. I assume it was on purpose. Rodgers did not react. Aaron Rodgers always talks about accountability. The first thing he did was excuse Alan Lazard for the penalty for the finger guns. He's like, oh, it's like the Key and Peele skit. So, I mean, have it both ways, right, Aaron? Excuse certain people, but say we need to be accountable in the same breath. That's kind of frustrating. AJ Hawk contributed to the show, so that's good. Good for AJ. Clap it up for him, right? He contributed to the show. He said, are you going to just start saying ready, set, hike? So not only was it a real football question, but it was also humorous. And by the way, I said it with Antwan, I'm like, oh, it's not a serious interview. I don't need sports to be that serious. Like, I get the idea of just a bunch of guys hanging around talking sports, but it doesn't feel like that there. They do it in a way that, I don't know, like the AJ Hawk thing, just being on the screen the entire time. And the other guys, they come in and ask a question here and there, or just make a bunch of dog noises, which is like, again, I think like a bunch of guys talking about sports. Look at Part of My Take, how successful that is. It feels like but there's two main guys who are talking, and then there's a bunch of people in addition who can kind of just talk about sports and just dude stuff, and that works. So I guess that's the style. Again, I don't watch it. I don't know who does, but it's not something that I'm necessarily looking for. A couple other things from Rodgers. He said, as far as the mistakes, he said it's not on anyone but the players. It's not on the coaches. It's not on Hackett. It's not on Saleh. So there is the accountability, and then when he talks about the narrative out there and me, running my mouth off, one of the people with the quote narrative says, I just say fuck it and move on. And I got to be better. I don't worry about what people are saying on the outside. He gives you a certain calm and confidence, and hopefully he carries that in the building as well. And then Sunday, he's intense and riled up at times. I did want to say that, like, when they did correlate it back to him missing OTAs, I guess Aaron Rodgers missed cadence day. So I thought of the same joke as well. He missed the cadence days at the OTAs, and that's why the cadence isn't going well. Last time he traveled to London, by the way, too, he went on a Thursday afternoon from Green Bay. So it's going to be the same as it was for Rodgers last time. Something I talked about with Antwan as well. So that's what I saw so far from that interview. I don't know what else, if there's anything else. It's not great. The season's not over. Win in London, and the conversation changes. They have Buffalo's number. Buffalo looks beatable after the game against Baltimore. A lot needs to change. And I don't believe that this head coach is the right man to do it. That's the bottom line of this podcast, of this episode. But we'll talk to Bilal later in the week. We'll see what happens and continue to ride the wave, because maybe like Rodgers, he doesn't want to get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. As fans, this is what we do, and we react. And my job is to also kind of project what I think can happen moving forward. And based on what I've seen, it's not great, but that's why they play the games. So until next time, we'll have Bilal again, like I said, later in the week. Can't wait to talk to him. He called me frantically after the game. Doesn't happen after every game. Call me, yo, bro, what the fuck just happened? And I said, I know. So I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow. We'll preview the London game as well. Till next time. Like, subscribe, share the podcast. Appreciate you all for listening. See ya. Coming up on the Believe in Jets podcast, a loaded episode. We talked to Antwan Staley, but I also talked to myself for a while because I am furious at everything we've seen from the New York Jets. It's just frustrating to see what we've seen. So on the Believe in Jets podcast, we talked to Antwan Staley about mainly Robert Saleh. And we react a little bit to Rodgers' conversation with Pat McAfee. Also breaking news, Davante Adams looks like he will be traded now. So will he be traded to the Jets? We're going to find out. I'd expect that to happen. So loaded episode of the Believe in Jets podcast, all coming up right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Let's see what the live spread is on BetOnline currently. Well, I guess it's not live because the game's not happening yet. But let's see what the spread is for the Jets as they head out to London to face off in London against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, who are 4-0, are 2.5-point favorites in a neutral site. So, that's as much as you can get, right? 2.5-point favorites in a neutral site. Officially a home game for the Vikings. 9:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance to win weekly prizes and a chance for a share at $200,000. When the game's over, head over to one of our online casinos, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here.